Today, we are so excited to have Taylor Toone, Senior Project Manager at Woodbury Corporation, join us. Taylor oversees major projects across Utah and Idaho for Woodbury, which is, if you haven't known about this, they're one of the biggest players in the Intermountains, but they are a respected real estate development company with over 100 years of history. And I think they manage something like over $4 billion in assets under management.
Yeah, almost double that, but yeah.
Okay, casual. Okay, so we'll go with 8.
Just a couple billion, yeah.
We're just a little off by like 50%. Well, I won't age you, but I know you have more than a decade of experience in this construction and development industry, and you've worked with all sorts of key players, developers, contractors, subcontractors, giving just a really well-rounded perspective on the entire development process. So excited to dive in there, but really too across all different asset types, multifamily, commercial projects, to hospitality, office, TIs, religious buildings, and actually how we met was talking about Utah City. So really excited to hear more about that. So welcome, Taylor, to the show.
Thank you.
We're really excited to dive in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty fun. There's lots to talk about. Like I said, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, 8 billion is, especially with Utah City, I mean, this whole development is going to be just a small percentage of our asset type, and it's going to grow and keep growing for the next 20 years. It's amazing.
Incredible, incredible. So, I mean, I was going to wait to talk about Utah City, but I think we should go in right now. I mean, it's not every day we get to talk to someone that's building a new city.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's named Utah City as well.
That's named Utah City.
Yeah. Yeah. In the studies, we published out like, okay, what should we name the city? And even though it's a little cliche, Utah City was the most popular.
Well, there you go. Give the people what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's something around 700 million acres, or is it 700?
Close. Acreage. The total, I mean, we have up to 700 acres. I think you know that, right? But actively of what we're going to build on is probably 300 of what we're starting with. So 300 acres is a lot. I mean, that is like, to put it in perspective, Utah City is going to be about 13 to 17,000 apartment units. So 4 million square feet of retail. I think the plan is like 2 million square feet of office space, have our own downtown, parks, I want to say they're pretty much rec centers, just a whole livable city where you can go to work, you can live, you can eat, all within a district, all so within amazing. That 300 acres.
Yeah, because I'm in Austin, and we've got, this place called the Domain, which is like this little world where you could potentially never leave because you could live there, work there. I don't know if you could go to school there. I'm sure there's daycares. Go to the grocery store. But when I was looking at some of the renderings of Utah City, I mean, this is expansive. This actually feels like a city. Like the Domain is 15 minutes from Austin City Center. It's not like it's really its own. Yeah, it doesn't have bike trails and areas to like live and, walk around unless, you're walking the store.
Right. But okay. That's awesome. Yeah. So I bet that sounds super similar because you're essentially probably 25 minutes away from the airport, not super far from Salt Lake City Airport. You're probably 45 minutes to an hour away from ski resorts. You're 45 minutes away from Park City, right? Where Sundance is going on right now. So all the celebrities are in town. So there's so many things going on, and it's such a great location right on Utah Lake. So most of the buildings will have a view of the lake and then a view of the mountains. And the Utah mountains are stunning.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're not getting that here in Austin. I mean, there's hill country if you want to go drive and see some beautiful hills. But yeah, the Domain, you're just literally looking at shops and offices. It's not going to compare.
Yeah.
To mountain ranges and lake.
I love the greenery though of Austin. It feels like it's green almost all year.
It is true. It is something that surprises most folks, myself alike. I'd only been to Dallas prior to first coming to Austin. And you're like, oh, there's actually like foliage here. I mean,
it's not just a desert. Yeah.
It's not just flat.
Yeah, exactly. And I've
Ride
been
your
to
horse
Houston
through
a lot
hills.
where it's humid, and I don't think Austin is as humid as Houston, right?
It's not. You can cut through it. I mean, it still is. Like everyone always
Yeah.
says, like, oh well, at least it's not Houston. I'm from Southern California. Uh, it's everything's humid to me.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I think,
Utah is a very dry heat.
yeah, so nice. That's the one thing I miss is I like warm temperatures, but when it's still like 99 at 9 p.m. in the summer, I'm like, give us a break, right? I'm ready for it just to drop off even maybe 10 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
And
think you did some time in Orange County too, right?
I did. Yep. I lived
Yeah.
in kind of Irvine area and
Yeah.
Southern Orange County, close to Dana Point. So those were great stomping grounds, I'm sure.
Two beautiful areas of the world. I'm from Laguna Beach
Yeah.
originally.
Okay.
I actually
Yeah.
lived in Irvine prior, right? Like really quickly, right prior to moving to Austin. That's awesome.
Awesome. We lived in Aliso, so we would head down Laguna Canyon all the time, go to the beaches. It's phenomenal.
It really
Yeah.
is a special little place in the world.
Yep. Yep. And there's nothing like it. And hopefully we can. So we at Utah City we do have like beachfront property, and so there's plans to sort of what's the word like rebuild almost, just enhance that beach line so that it's more enticing to visit, adding sand, adding amenities right on the beach. Because right now, not much of that beachfront is used at the moment on Utah Lake. So with a lot of cleanup that's been going on, it's been awesome.
That is
It's going to be
so
exciting.
cool. You literally
Yeah.
get like every world because Utah is very unique in that you could reach kind of different kind of climates and
Yeah.
landscapes, right?
Yeah.
Like desert to mountain to hiking
Exactly.
to kind of all
Yeah.
that to water. Now
Yeah.
you're bringing the beach. We might want to tell people.
I
Too
know.
many
I know.
people move.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe a wave pool will go in. You never know. The 300 acres is our oyster, as they say, right? We can build whatever we want. It's pretty cool. The blank canvas that we've been preparing. And so starting off with a grocery store, a bunch of apartment buildings right now to just get people living there. We're actively working on kind of a pool, a rec center pool, not as big as like a typical rec center, but kind of a resort pool, some awesome playgrounds, and kind of this amphitheater with a bunch of greenery and grass. We've got this green belt, which is 10 acres of just greenery all along this kind of paseo going from east to west of the entire city. So we do have a track station, like a front runner train station that's right on the edge of the property. So we're going to utilize that a lot for people to travel downtown. So you can go downtown in 20 minutes or so
Amazing.
utilizing the train station. So it's really fast. The front runner only has like 3 or 4 stops before it gets to downtown. And then that'll drop you off right at the Utah Jazz, the Utah Hockey Club. Hopefully we get a good name here soon
Yeah.
on that, right? Utah Hockey Club is okay, but they're rooting for like the
Old school.
Yetis. Yeah.
Oh, I like
The
that.
Yetis, that's pretty cool. I personally like the Outlaws, the Utah Outlaws.
Yeah, that's a little,
You know,
yeah, that's a
kind of
little cooler.
gunslingery. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be really fun. So just a lot of awesome transportation, utilizing the public infrastructure and bringing all that kind of, you have your own little world at Utah City, but then you also have access to everything else outside of it. It's really
Almost
cool.
direct. That's
Almost direct.
almost sounds too perfect. You have your
Yeah.
own little world away, but you can plug in at
Yeah.
any time,
Yeah.
especially with
And
the
if you're,
infrastructure, because that's not
yeah.
what a lot of other places have. They don't have direct access to,
Yeah.
rail
Don't get me
lines or
started
things like
on
that.
infrastructure. There's some pretty awesome stuff that we've got coming up.
Yeah.
Because we have our own city, we are doing our own essentially district energy. So this is something that is very unique and really will play a huge role into kind of tax and energy benefits, which is huge, especially on the rebate side. But the the gist of it is essentially we're using hot and cold water to heat and cool the entire property. So we have giant boilers and using geothermal, a lot of natural resources, solar to heat the water and then also to cool it, large cooling towers. And then we have these giant pipes of water running throughout the whole 300 acres going to each building. So you typically only see this on like a campus
Yeah.
or like a large development. And sometimes you see it on a large multifamily building. Have you worked on buildings that have this sort of water system going
Yeah,
through it?
mostly on campus, but the drawback there is, sometimes those are things that have to kind of be pieced together over
Yeah.
time too.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can't accomplish everything that they want because of just quite literally like cost and space. So it's so interesting for you to be able to quite literally start from scratch, right? There's
Yeah.
so many, amazing cities across the United States. People are like, what was the city planners thinking here? Like that there was never going to be any growth. So it's so interesting
Yeah.
when you're like starting from like day zero.
From just a
And
blank
I do
piece
know
of ground.
a thing or two about some of the incentives.
Yes, you do.
So the consumer should get some, but so should you.
Exactly. And that's what's really
And
awesome
when.
about this district energy system is you're right. Not only does it benefit like the district energy company becoming the service provider for heat and cooling, but the customers, the tenants in all of the buildings, their heating and cooling bills are much lower each month than your typical system that's run off of natural gas or that's run off of just electricity. So we're very hopeful, and so far the projections are showing that all the residents will be saving less than if they were paying somewhere else. In addition to all of the great amenities, so like we could heat the pool off of this district energy system. We can potentially use a snow melt system, right? You're running the hot water underneath all of the sidewalks, so you don't have to
Yeah.
snowplow in the winter. So there's many different aspects of this district energy system that's just so exciting.
So excited. Quite literally groundbreaking. Were there any other cities that you guys looked for inspiration?
That's a great question. So a lot of the Woodbury ownership traveled to a couple different areas. So there's a couple places in Canada that are doing this as well. So they traveled to Canada. I believe Oregon was one of the other places that they visited. And those were the only two areas that I knew that they actively went and saw a community. So it's not like a system that we're just trying out, but it's been proven. And so it's been, I'll try and find out the development names of those other ones that they've used. But this company that we're working for, that's the energy company, is really cool, really active in a lot of things that they're working on.
That's so awesome and very unique too, because I think a lot of, the audience that, we interact with, are working with kind of new technologies or like just started companies recently. And so you don't always expect to, talk to someone or talk to a business that's been around for over 100 years that still is so innovative. Like, what is that like?
That's been
Because it
really
really, you're
exciting.
leading the charge on things that only maybe one or two other communities might have. But
Yeah.
here you are, in, kind of a usually technology latent kind of industry, really making moves.
Yeah. You would think that, okay, in the 100 years that we've been around doing real estate development, that we would be kind of stuck in our ways. Now, there is a reason why it's a 100-year-old successful company, right? There are some things that we stick to principles. But then at the same time, technology is moving so fast that we need to provide the latest and greatest to our residents, right? Especially for like the Utah City and the multifamily. Even though we do a ton of commercial buildings, retail buildings, office buildings, where we try and stay at the forefront of technology, really the construction industry is hitting a stride, if you will, with multifamily, right? You have apartment units that are being smart, right? You have smart door locks, smart thermostats, smart lighting, your access controls. So getting into the building, getting into your unit, going through. So for example, say you have a Peloton room, right? You can use your residential app to reserve that room for that time of the day, and you go access it through your residence app, and your residence app controls everything. So technology is moving so fast that we are trying to keep up with it. But at the same time, just like you mentioned, we are also looking for those companies that are tried and true, right? There's so many new startups that are coming out that might be really good, might be really successful, but they may have their growing pains that we try and work through. And so we mitigate those risks and review those options as a team and make sure everybody feels comfortable moving forward with it. Just because it's gonna really prove itself in the end to the end user and to our tenants, and then hopefully we get good reviews and good referrals, and get things moving, more buildings.
Yeah, I think, keeping a tight feedback loop on those things, because I can imagine it can probably feel really easy to get distracted because there's so many options available, and you want to be ahead of the game, but you don't want to necessarily be an early adopter on, everything.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, and that kind of relates to this, is like, for example, AI is huge in the industry right now, right? So many people are pushing, okay, how can we integrate AI, artificial intelligence and artificial learning into these models that we build? Or, for example, into our everyday, not just in construction, but also development. Is there things that AI can do to make our lives easier? In fact, we are actively looking every year. We've got companies that come and present themselves. Hey, we can go and scan your whole building and tell you exactly if they're on schedule or not. Just by scanning your building, right? The AI looks at the pictures and says, you have 60% of your drywall installed, or you have all your roof except for one section is done, right? So then it's checking my payment applications. Am I overpaying the contractor or the subcontractor, or are they accurately billing? So how are you implementing AI into your daily life?
It's endless, right? But it's all for me personally, and like for our company, I'm really big about, like, I get excited by AI tools. Don't get me wrong. Like, honestly, like, my team could be slacking me right now, being like responding to the 50 things I probably saw on the internet in last month. Like, I can't help myself. I get excited about these things. However, I've gotten better about saying, like, all right, I know, like, AI is future. However, like, let's systematically break down certain processes or routines or responsibilities of team members, systems in place, and rank them by, like, most time spent. Because at the end of the day, like, humans matter, right? It's about positioning them in a point where they're doing, like, their best work at the right time. If we can, you say all day long, like, oh, I'm going to save you all these hours, or I'm going to save you this, or like, I'm going to give you visibility, but like, doesn't matter to the company from an efficiency standpoint. Like, truly, like, time saved, money saved? Is it a nice to have or need to have? Or like, if we don't do this, our competitors will, like, eat us for lunch. And that like range can be quite large, right?
And and scary for sure.
Yeah, and really scary. So like, it's just kind of finding that balance of what's important. So like, a practical example and something that I've recently deployed is creating, like, evaluations for processes. So let's say, like, a project process, for instance. Is there now the technology is evolving so quickly. I mean, one thing could be weeks difference. So how much time do you want to spend on that, right? But
Right.
is it something that's going to save me 5 minutes, 2 hours? Like, at this step, what about the next step? What about this next step? So it's not about, like, automating every single thing. I think I'm most excited about agents, because you can quite literally think of AI agents as digital employees. So not so much around having to, like, replace people, although some people's responsibilities that they'd love to replace. So like, those can be wins.
The mundane tasks.
Yeah, like if you can automate admin work, like, that's always a great thing. But also, like, if you can actually do, like, things faster, that someone would be like, that would be great. I would love for that to happen every day. Like, that's awesome. And then helps bottom line. But I'm mostly excited about agents, more so in the sense of not employee elimination, but more so like digital employee hiring is kind of the way I look at it. Like, actually, we can actually grow the team without having to grow headcount incredibly to do so.
Or overhead too, maybe.
And associated overhead,
Right, of
right?
course. Yeah.
So that's kind of where
That's
I
exciting.
kind of play is like, there's a lot of sexy AI tools that kind of are around, like video, photo, like all these things that you could potentially like create. I'm most interested in like, where can we find little edges along the way so that we can deliver ultimately, right? Our business is, saving companies money. So where can we find edges that allow us to continue to deliver more value for customers so that we can continue to have like quality consulting time with our clients and have certain bandwidth or capacity constraints along the way?
Restrictions. Yeah, exactly. Because the face-to-face time that you and I have had, and Abby, one of your employees, she's been amazing, right? Has been super valuable because we've been able to talk face to face. And if we don't get that face to face time because you're busy working on mundane stuff, or not necessarily mundane stuff, but the other stuff that requires our time.
Stuff is met, like, we'll be real, some of the tech stuff can be mandated.
Taxes,
or like to your early point on rebate, right? Like if you knew the specs that your digital power like company is creating, then like who wants to sit down and go through 50 pages of filling out forms for boiler rebates?
Right.
No one.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could have that automated, or that
But if
you
that's
are able to provide,
with
I
a
would love
level
somebody
of review, boom, like you're going to get your money.
Then it's fast. I would love an AI to be able to go and review the plans. And for example, being in construction, right? Where am I going to receive like change orders? Where is a discrepancy between the plans? Like, oh, the electrical plans call for an outlet here, but these other plans say you shouldn't put that there, or something like that, right? For just a dumb example. But like finding something that's going to cost me money and save me that money so that we fix it ahead of time, for example.
Yeah. De-risk
So
it.
like, yeah, just mitigating the risk and trying to lower our risk. For example, one thing that we do is we visit job sites and we do observations. So we review them, we review what's going on. So having AI compile a report that notifies, for example, a general contractor or a subcontractor of deficiencies that they need to fix this. So many hours of our day is just by answering emails, responding to emails, putting out fires, unfortunately, sometimes.
Yeah.
Not literal fires, but hopefully never.
Well, hopefully not. Yeah, with electrical specs being checked off.
Yeah, with the electrical spec being checked off, exactly. Hopefully we can get through a lot of those. I mean, lately, as developers, I can guarantee you that nobody in my office receives less than 100 emails a day. And they're just emails that we have to answer and we have to review. It's not answers or not emails that you can just file away. So having something to help us review that, and I've noticed that on my phone that pops up as like, hey, this chain of email talks about this, and it kind of provides a neat summary.
Yeah. Have you heard of Fixer AI? FYXER? So there's been a lot of chatter on Fixer. I've been on a couple of calls with folks that have had it. It's similar to Fireflies or TLDB for like screen recording or like meeting minutes, because I think meeting minutes is solved, right, for transcription. Like, right, what you choose to do with what it tells you to do is like on
making sure it's accurate. Yeah, sure.
But that's actually one tool that I'm looking to play around with here soon, in that basically Fixer will go into your email and like get to know your tone, the way that you answer emails, and it'll actually draft responses for you. Like I heard a personal example with someone saying like, hey, I'd love to pick your brain about something. Classic, like, let's meet up for coffee. And it came up with an answer for like, yes, I would love to. And here's my availability based on my calendar. Or like, no, sorry, man, can't right now. Like, I've got a lot, but like, ping me in another few weeks if it's up.
There's 15 emails a week that can be responded to.
That's so simple. But what I'm most excited about is the intricate answers, right? So we get asked, frequently asked certain tax questions. Right. Mm-hmm. But we always want to make sure.
It could be an easy answer, right?
It could be easy for us, right? What I'm excited about is not having to have potentially a more junior person draft, send it to their superior, review, come back, and then send it out, right? I would much prefer it to just be able to start to learn what those answers are and draft it for them. And maybe at beginning it's a review, right? Like, it's trust but verify.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's already happening. It's wild.
That's crazy.
ChatGPT, I just came or with Operator. I mean, it can make you reservations like in your browser.
I love that. I use it all the time. I use ChatGPT all the time. I'll throw myself under the bus. You know, there's things that might be frustrating. Oh, $1 million just came through from a mistake that somebody made, right? So you're all angry and you type an email and you type it up and you're like, okay, let me throw it into ChatGPT and have it rewrite it in a nicer tone.
More professional.
I'm a contractor. I get upset. Still stern. You know, being a contractor, you got to learn to stand your ground a little bit and
absolutely
make sure people stick to their words and own up to mistakes. I'll own up to my mistakes and I'll be fair.
Yeah. Absolutely, keeping people accountable, ownership, but also creating clear and concise kind of comments and next steps. So that's one I'm awesome. Excited
that's
about.
That's a great one.
Yeah, because I already use the meeting, recaps, and that's so helpful because you can then create a trigger so that, I mean, no longer do we have to be in our CRM reminding ourselves what tasks we have for the day, right? It just tells you what to do.
I've noticed that's popped up in our Microsoft Teams meeting. That like reading AI or some AI joins the meeting. I'm like, what is this AI thing joining, listening into my conversation? But then when I see the meeting minutes and it says Taylor's assignments are this and that and this and that, I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. Okay. Copy and paste right into my task and to do, and then make it a reminder and good to go.
Yeah, it does feel a little strange still sometimes when there are a box in the room, but there are private conversations. You can always turn it off.
Yeah, exactly. But you're absolutely right. The meeting minutes is nice, especially when you're in a meeting with everybody talking and points going on over here. Somebody sitting at a computer trying to make sense of it and take notes can be very difficult and overwhelming. We've got an assistant that can do that she has been phenomenal, but going hand in hand with the AI meetings, then she's like, oh, I missed that. I can add that in. And then meeting minutes get sent out and they're amazing. Great.
Absolutely. And then for things like site visits or like audits for certain units, I'm not sure if you guys use off-the-shelf technology, but I mean, nowadays too, like you can quite literally spin up an application or agent to standardize those things. So we also perform site visits. 5 years ago, what would have cost hundreds of thousands or $1 million in software development is now a few hours of like prompting something in Replit. And you could be like, okay, I need, this subcontractor every time they finish a job to, do these punch list items. I need to know about these things. I also need them to take photos and it to go into a report that highlights this, this, and this for me to sign off. You can literally create that in hours now. It's unbelievable.
The thousands of hours in reporting is now down to minutes, right? When I'm walking a job site, I can essentially just have my camera open or the app open, be talking to it and say, okay, this is a punch list item, this is an issue, and I take pictures and videos, and it'll generate the report for me in like 2 minutes or less. And I can just send that to the general contractor and it's done. And then those items I know will be taken care of. It's so cool.
What tool is that? Was that an internal one or something?
That one is, it's called Company Cam.
I've met those folks.
Yeah.
At some point.
They're really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've heard really good things.
We've been doing a trial of it, right? So I really encourage subcontractors and contractors to use it on a daily basis because they're the ones on site visiting.
Yeah.
But for us, we've been using it as a trial to go out and when we do our observations and our visits, just to keep track of what we see. Because as ownership, we may say, oh, you know what? That area is a good place where we could value engineer. Say, we don't need to do all of this amazing experience for an expensive amount of money. And we can reduce that and say, okay, we're going to simplify it. It still will look amazing, but will cost less and will eventually end up costing the building less. And just overall, it works a lot better for for the projects
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah. It's like the perfect example where like human expertise meets technology
Yeah.
just to get to the
Yeah.
next.
And we're hoping to implement. So speaking of technology at Utah City, we're trying to use what's called a managed Wi-Fi system. So have you ever been in a building and you leave the parking lot, you disconnect from the Wi-Fi, and then it takes a second for it to connect to the cellular tower and things like that? We're
Yes,
trying to.
because yeah, with maps especially, it's so
Yeah,
noticeable with maps
yeah,
just get tripped up. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So we're trying to have essentially an entire mesh network of Wi-Fi over the whole property. So no matter where you go, you're on the same Wi-Fi network. And if you live there, you're connected to your own private network from your room. So, for example, say I'm down by the pool and I want to print something, I can print to my room and the printer in my from down by the pool, right? Because you're all on the same Wi-Fi network all throughout. And so we're also putting Wi-Fi out in the streets just to help make that transition and parking lots feel so smooth. So like if you're on the phone
Okay.
and you're on Wi-Fi calling and you go out into the parking lot, you're still connected to Wi-Fi. Now, once you leave the city, then maybe that's a different story of connecting to the cell
Yeah,
towers.
that's
But
pretty. You don't disagree about
yeah,
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
yeah, you don't need
I
Wi-Fi
think the only
anymore.
problem you might run in, that's so incredible. I think the only problem you might run into is, that the small percentage of folks that like to turn their Wi-Fi off, or you have to get them protected hats.
Yeah, I've got some
My Wi-Fi
aluminum.
cap.
Yeah, I've got some aluminum right next door. We can just
Yeah.
make some about a cap. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's an end user experience like that we're trying to provide.
Yeah. Those
Just
are
where
edges that
things
you
are
just don't
seamless.
see. Yeah, you do not see that elsewhere. Like
Yeah,
all this. Awesome. So right now, I mean, you guys have like almost like infinite amount of projects ahead and things to also test.
it
What's
feels
your
like it.
time? I mean, I know you guys have generated a ton of excitement. I'm like, when can I buy my Utah beach front property already? What's the time horizon for like when are you
So
expecting first tenants?
that's great. Thank you for that question. So our first
Yeah.
deliveries are around June and July of this year of our first building.
Soon.
So we've
It's
got some
soon.
townhomes that are coming online, some apartment buildings that are coming online. So our first, I think leasing will start probably March or April, and then we'll have units turned over in June and July. And that's just the first phase. And then it is just a constant flow after that. We've got, so that's 120 Bend and then 220 Bend. Those are the building names. Those are the two that are going to come online this year and beginning of next year. Our pool and resort spa, we're trying to turn online by Memorial Day 2026. So like I talked about that park and kind of the green line, the fields and grass will come online by Memorial Day this year. So we're going to have a lot of greenery, a lot of walking trails, a lot of parks coming online this year and this summer. And then moving right into, like I said, probably every 3 to 6 months, a new building is going to come online with some more units. So
So exciting.
yeah, we have over 2,000 units under construction right now, and we're going to be starting another 1,000 units um, 2025. Those will be about a 2-year construction duration, and then it's just going to
Hi,
keep
Tom.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have a grocery store come online this year in November, prior to
Awesome.
November. So we're going to have food, we're going to have a park, and we're going to have a
Right.
living area. So it's going to come together,
Well,
and
I
it's just
can't
the tip.
promise reach, but I don't know, Taylor. You might just
Yeah.
have like pre-sales right after this. Like
Hey,
I'm already ready. I mean, my husband and I are all the time. Like we love Texas.
there you
Austin's
go.
home, but we're like, why don't we
You need a
live in
second home
Utah?
here,
So
to
it's
raise
more
your family.
approachable. Yeah, it's more approachable
Yeah,
than
very
California
family
right
friendly,
now.
very family friendly here in Utah. It's great.
Yes. Well,
And
with that too, I mean, besides working for one of the coolest development companies in the country, I mean, you seem like a really highly motivated guy from all the conversations we've had. And I got a preview on one of our calls before with a cute, sweet baby. So I wanted to ask you, yeah, what
yeah,
motivates you every day? I'm sure some
boy.
family has something to do with it, but
So I saw a quote this week that really hit home. Somebody said, "Would you die for your children?" Right? And absolutely, right? I would go to the ends of the earth. So then they said, well, would you live for your children? And boy, oh, that hit hard. Would you go to the gym every day for them? Would you read books to better yourself? Would you teach them, play with them, right? Would you live for your children? And boy, that hit hard. I was like, yeah, you know what? I would do anything for them, but doing those things a parent should do just, yeah, really hit home to that. I need to do better.
I
So
love that
it's
so
really
much.
cool.
I saw a post similar, maybe we're in the same algorithm, and I thought that
Yeah,
was such a unique perspective.
it is.
Yeah.
So my 7 month old, I've got a 7 year old, a 5 year old, and a 7 month old, and we're done with three, and it's been amazing. But they are true motivators. And huge shout out to my wife Tammy. She's amazing and just motivating me. And they say that she's your better half, but she makes me, she definitely is my better half, and she makes me better every day, and it's awesome.
I love it. True partnership and
Yeah,
huge responsibility. The biggest job in the
I
world.
know,
Like
I know, and
raising
you're
raising
on your way.
children.
Yep.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, number two is coming. It coming.
Yeah, you're gonna, yeah, you're not, you're tied up with two. You're tied up, right?
Yeah, we're
We,
kind
we
of.
thought we thought two was gonna be good, right? We had 7 and 5, so, yeah, and then we had a big gap, 5 to 7 months, so 4 years between them, and we were like, oh, we're outnumbered now. We need a little
Yeah,
break.
yeah.
Uh, two kids is amazing. 3 kids
It's a
is
party.
great too. It's a party. Yep, yep. We needed that tiebreaker.
Exactly, exactly. And just the biggest blessings overall, especially when you can share all the things that, you're working on and building with them. That's kind of
They,
the dream.
and that makes me happy too, because they ask me like, "Hey, Dad, what's that construction vehicle?" Right? So they ask me all the time, and I've brought them out onto construction sites and threw them in a backhoe, and
Love it.
that's where it started with me, was jumping in a backhoe and getting that itch of seeing a piece of dirt and building it into something amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say too, it's like our second chance of kind of getting to see the world again too, through like a new set of eyes. It's just so innocent and genuine, and like that's probably the coolest thing ever that you can do
Mm-hmm.
is get out with them.
Yeah, they
And
love
you're
it.
like, yeah, yeah, that's awesome. One thing I've been asking the last few guys, I mean, that quote was so good, but I mean, there's a lot of folks that would maybe they live for your job, right? Maybe not die for your job.
Right.
Folks looking to do what you do, like what would be some, advice you'd give, folks that are
That's
kind of
great.
working their way up or kind of want
Yeah.
to, do what you do every day. Like, what would
Yeah.
you recommend for those seekers?
That's one of my favorite questions of all time. What do you do and
You
how
didn't
do you
ask me
do
to
it?
say this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, no, you didn't. But I always ask successful people, or even people around me that are really good at their job, what do you do
Yeah.
and how do you do it? Right. And like like you said, living for your children, like there's a lot of motivational factors, right? But for me, is finding something that you truly love and just going and trying to achieve it. I really love construction. I started as a little boy building Legos and going with my father to construction sites and actually seeing a building come together and using your imaginations. I initially wanted to be an architect at first, but I didn't like sitting behind a desk all day and like a drafter is. And so I wanted to get away from that, and I sit behind a desk all day now, anyways.
Funny how that happens, right?
Yeah,
You
funny how that
you
happens.
get to, right?
Yeah, I get to, but the caveat is I do get to go visit the job sites,
Yeah.
and that gets
Yeah,
me
you
out of
get to
the
see it in
office,
real life.
and
Yeah.
I get to see it and take part of that. And so that finding something that you love and really working towards that and just bettering yourself. I mean, there is still things that I can learn. And coming to work at a corporation like Woodbury, a large real estate developer, I can go over to a department and ask about tax, right? I can go ask about accounting. I can go ask about a hospitality group who manages hotels. I can ask the lawyers, hey, how do you solve this issue with a contract? I can go to our property management and say, hey, what does it take to manage a property after it's been turned over from construction? The architecture department is right here. There's so many cogs to this wheel that I have been able to just drink through a fire hose of asking questions. And there's never, ever, even in my position of where I think I know it all, I still try and ask all the questions that I can and try and understand what do people do and how do they do it.
Yeah. It's amazing too when you can find a place like Woodbury, right, where you have that access, right,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
all those types of conversations. And I can imagine how that can also be so rewarding being in construction and development to just really be able to see the fruits of your labor and also the
Yes.
other pieces, along the way where you hand off to one and then and pretty soon you'll see real people living and breathing it.
I know. And that's what's going to be
And
really
their
exciting.
life, like they're choosing
Yeah.
to, they're choosing
They're
to live there.
they're choosing to live. Yeah. They're living for something that I've done. And so I do take a lot of pride in the work there's in just this teeny part of that giant wheel with our partnerships, with our architects and engineers, designers, developers, all the way to our property managers. Like I am just this I feel like a speck in something as grand as just, for example, the Utah City. And there's no way that any of us could do it without one another. And so the teamwork, the teamwork and the collaboration that's required has just been phenomenal. It's been so awesome to be able to rely on somebody, to have them rely on me to take things and run with it. It's been awesome. It's great.
Yeah, together you can move mountains.
Yep, one shovel at a time. Yeah,
One shovel at a time.
yeah, we can move a mountain. We can build a city, just one nail and one piece of wood at a time.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be sure to put everything about Utah City in the show notes as well as LinkedIn. But is there what's the best way for folks to connect with you if they wanted to continue the conversation? What's LinkedIn has?
LinkedIn is a great spot. That's normally where I handle all of my business kind of communication. Like I love the messaging app and it almost feels like Facebook, but for business. So it's fun to connect with people on there. Wish I would post more, but I'm a little reserved when it comes to that because, I don't know why. It's Tim, right?
AI can draft it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'll do some AI, but taking those selfies out on the job site, hey, check this out, and that kind of fits really well with the Woodbury theme, if you will. Even though we've been around for 100 years and we are one of the largest real estate developers, maybe in the nation, we still fly under the radar.
Humble giants.
We are humble giants, yeah. So I think that kind of plays into why you don't see it. You see our signs everywhere, but we really don't post a whole ton on social media about what we're doing, even though it's so exciting and it's so fun.
Well, it's a testament, just to your culture that you're able to achieve so much without, it being about me. You're making it about everyone else. But I think now people are going to want to know though. So we might.
Yeah.
I have to come and visit, and I'll post a photo of you.
Yeah,
so you don't have to.
There is a Utah City Instagram account, so please go follow that. The Utah City Instagram account. We are constantly posting on that updates, and as we come online with more activities and things like that, we did a bike ride. We're going to be planting over 1,000 trees this spring, so it's going to be. There's a lot of cool things on that. So
epic.
Yeah,
I love it.
That would be a really good one to link. Yeah.
Okay. I will absolutely do that. Building a City with Taylor Toone. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
It was such a treat.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Of course.